Chapter: The beginning of my English journey. I always wanted to speak English fluently, but in the beginning, it was very hard for me. I could not understand simple words, and I could not speak even small sentences. Hey, every time I tried, I felt nervous. I thought English was too difficult. I felt shy in front of my friends. I felt more. I could not join English conversations because I was afraid of making mistakes. I also felt sad when I could not understand my teachers at school. I wanted to give up many times, but I knew that I needed English for my future. I wanted to study well, talk with people from other countries, and watch English movies without reading subtitles. I wanted to improve myself, so I decided to start learning slowly. At first, I started with small steps. I learned simple words like book, school, friend, and happy. I wrote these words in a small notebook. Every day, I tried to remember 5 or 10 new words. I read the words, spoke them aloud, and tried to make small sentences. For example, I wrote, "This is my book," or "I am happy today." These sentences were simple, but they helped me understand how English works. Slowly, my confidence began to grow. I realized that learning English is not about knowing many words at once. Lumdi. It is about practicing every day. I also watched English videos and listened to songs in English. At first, I could not understand anything, but I did not stop. I played the videos again and again. I listened to the pronunciation carefully. I tried to repeat the sentences after the speakers. Ray? Sometimes it was funny because my pronunciation was very different from the speakers, but I kept trying. I spoke slowly and tried to copy the sounds. Yay. This practice helped me a lot. I learned new words from videos and songs too. Slowly, I started to recognize common words and phrases. I began to enjoy listening and speaking English. I also spoke with myself in English at home. I made small conversations alone. For example, I asked myself, "How are you today?" And I answered, "I am fine, thank you." And you? It felt strange at first, but it helped me practice without fear. I tried to speak slowly and clearly. I noticed that the more I practiced, the easier it became. Mistakes were normal, and I learned from them. I started to understand that mistakes are not a problem. They are part of learning. This idea gave me courage to speak with friends. My teachers also gave me small tasks to improve my English. They asked me to read short stories and answer questions. I read slowly and carefully. I wrote new words in my notebook. Then, I tried to make my own sentences using these words. Sometimes, I read the story aloud in class. Oh. At first, my voice was weak, and I felt shy, but slowly I became more confident. I realized that reading aloud is a very good practice. It improves both speaking and understanding. I also learned that practice makes perfect. The more I practiced, the better I became. I started to spend 1 hour every day on English. I divided my time into 4 parts: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. First, I read a story or a small article. Second, I wrote new words and sentences in my notebook. Third, I listened to English videos, songs, or news. Fourth, I spoke in English, even if I was alone. This simple routine helped me improve step by step. At the end of a few months, I noticed a big change. I could understand more words. I could speak small sentences without fear. I could even answer questions in class. My friends and teachers noticed my improvement too. I also learned the importance of patience. Learning English is not a race. It takes time. Sometimes I forgot words or made mistakes, but I did not give up. I repeated my practice every day. I understood that small daily efforts give big results over time. Hang. I learned that practice is the key to success in English. Even a little practice every day is better than many hours in one day. Consistency is more important than speed. This lesson changed my way of learning. I realized that anyone can learn English if they are ready to practice every day. By the end of the first chapter of my journey, I felt more confident. I could speak short sentences with my friends. I could read simple stories and understand them. I could listen to English songs and catch some words. I knew I still had a long way to go, but I also knew that practice would take me to my goal. I learned that English is not magic. It is not something impossible. It is a skill that grows with time, effort, and practice. Every day I practiced, and every day I improved. I learned the most important lesson: practice makes perfect. Chapter: Daily Practice and Small Steps. After I started my English journey, I realized that practice every day is very important. Learning a language is like planting a tree. You cannot see big results in one day, but if you water it every day, it will grow strong and tall. I decided to make a daily routine for English. I divided my practice into small steps, so it would not feel difficult. Every day, I spent some time reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Each part helped me improve a different skill. In the morning, I started with reading. I read small stories, easy articles, or short paragraphs. At first, I read slowly and looked at the meaning of new words in a dictionary. I wrote these words in my notebook and tried to remember them. Sometimes, I read the same story 2 or 3 times to understand it completely. Reading every day helped me learn new words and understand sentence structure. I noticed that reading also improved my pronunciation because I spoke the words aloud while reading. This small step was very important for my progress. After reading, I spent some time writing. Writing is a very strong way to remember words. I wrote small sentences, using the new words I had learned. I also kept a diary in English. In my diary, I wrote about my day, my thoughts, and my feelings. At first, my sentences were very simple. like I go to school or I eat breakfast. But slowly, I started making longer sentences. Writing every day made me confident in using words in the correct order. Eh? I also noticed that writing helped me speak better because I could think about sentences before saying them. Listening was the next step in my practice. I listened to English songs, videos, and simple stories. At first, I could not understand anything. I felt frustrated sometimes because the words sounded very fast, but I did not give up. I listened again and again. I repeated the words slowly. Sometimes, I paused the video and wrote new words in my notebook. Listening every day helped me understand how words are pronounced and how sentences sound in real conversation. I learned that listening is very important for speaking because it trains your ear. Speaking was the most difficult part for me. I was very shy to speak English in front of others. I was afraid of making mistakes. But I knew that speaking is very important to become fluent. Keiki. I started speaking alone at home. I made small conversations with myself. I asked questions and answered them in English. For example, I said, "How are you today?" and answered, "I am fine, thank you." Sometimes I talked about my hobbies, my school, or my favorite movies. At first, it felt strange, but slowly I became more comfortable. Speaking daily, even for Sir minutes, may make a big difference. I also practiced English with friends who wanted to learn like me. We spoke simple sentences and corrected each other politely. Sometimes, we played small games in English. For example, we named objects around us in English, or we described our day using simple sentences. This made learning fun and less stressful. I realized that learning English can be enjoyable if we mix practice with small fun activities. Learning together also gave me courage because I was not alone in making mistakes. Revision became a very important habit for me. I used to revise new words, sentences, and stories every night. Reviewing helped me remember words for a long time. I also noticed that revision helped me feel confident. I could use words and sentences without thinking too much. Small daily revisions were better than one long study session in a single day. Consistency is more important than speed. I learned that learning English is not about studying for hours. It is about regular practice, patience, and persistence. I also learned from my mistakes. Sometimes, I used words incorrectly or my sentences were wrong. At first, I felt embarrassed, but then I realized mistakes are part of learning. Every mistake taught me something new. I wrote my common mistakes in a notebook and tried not to repeat them. This small habit helped me improve faster. I understood that perfection comes slowly, and the key is to keep trying. By the end of the first few months of daily practice, I noticed big improvements. I could read stories without stopping too much. I could write small paragraphs with correct sentences. I could understand simple English conversations and songs. You know, most importantly, I felt more confident speaking English. I knew I was not perfect yet, but I was much better than before. Every small step in reading, writing, listening, and speaking helped me grow. Kim. I learned that learning English is a journey, not a race. Daily practice is like a ladder. Every small effort is one step higher. The more steps you take, the closer you get to your goal. I promised myself to continue practicing every day, no matter how busy I was. I also realized that practice should be enjoyable, not stressful. When you enjoy learning, improvement comes naturally. By practicing every day and taking small steps, I was slowly moving towards speaking perfect English and Chapter San. Overcoming mistakes and speaking confidently. After months of daily practice, I started feeling more confident in English. I could read, write, listen, and speak better than before. But speaking with others was still a challenge. I often made mistakes, and sometimes people could not understand me. At first, this made me feel nervous and shy. I thought maybe I was not improving at all. But then I remembered an important lesson. Mistakes are a part of learning. Everyone makes mistakes when they learn a new language. Even teachers and advanced speakers sometimes make small errors. The key is not to fear mistakes, but to learn from them. I decided to change my approach. Instead of worrying about errors, I focused on communicating clearly. I practiced simple sentences and repeated them until I felt comfortable. I also learned to listen carefully to correct pronunciation and imitate it. For example, if I heard the word beautiful for Lord, I listened carefully to how native speakers pronounced it, and tried many times to repeat it correctly. I recorded my own voice and compared it with the original. At first, my pronunciation was different, but with practice, it became closer to the correct sound. Small improvements gave me confidence to keep speaking. I also joined online groups and language clubs. These groups were full of people who wanted to practice English too. At first, I felt nervous to speak in front of many people. I was afraid of making mistakes and sounding wrong, but everyone was friendly, and mistakes were accepted. People encouraged each other. I started participating in small conversations, asking questions, and answering simple prompts. Slowly, I began to speak more naturally. I realized that practicing with others was very different from practicing alone. It gave me real experience, just like real-life conversations. Another method that helped me was thinking in English. Before, I used to translate sentences from my language into English. This made speaking slow and difficult. Then, I tried to think in English directly. For example, if I saw a cat, I said in my mind, "The cat is small and cute." I did not translate from my language. Thinking in English helped me speak faster and more fluently. It also reduced mistakes. At first, it was hard, but with practice, it became easier. I also learned that reading aloud every day was very helpful. I read stories, news, and even song lyrics aloud. Reading aloud improved my pronunciation and rhythm. Yak. It also made me more confident. When I read sentences many times, I could remember the words and phrases. This helped me speak more easily in conversations. I realized that reading, listening, and speaking together make English learning stronger. Each skill supports the other. I kept a small notebook for mistakes and new words. Whenever I made a mistake, I wrote it down and practiced it again. For example, I often said, "I go yesterday to school," instead of "I went to school yesterday." I wrote the correct sentence and repeated it many times. Gradually, I stopped making the same mistake. This habit of noting mistakes helped me a lot. I learned that reviewing errors is one of the fastest ways to improve. Speaking confidently also comes from positive thinking. I stopped thinking, "I am not good at English." Instead, I said, "I am learning and I will improve every day." This simple change made a big difference. I spoke more freely, even if I made mistakes. I realized that confidence comes not from perfection but from practice. Every time I spoke, I became a little better than before. Mistakes did not stop me anymore. They became lessons to help me improve. By the end of this chapter of my journey, I could speak English in front of my classmates without friends. I could express my ideas in simple words. I could read aloud clearly and understand simple conversations. I knew I still had a long way to go, but I also knew that regular practice, patience, and courage were helping me every day. I learned that mistakes are not failures. They are opportunities to grow. The more I practiced, the more confident I became. Slowly, English became a part of my life, not just a subject in school. I also learned that speaking confidently requires a daily habit. Small conversations at home, with friends, or in online groups helped me a lot. I realized that even Sir minutes of speaking every day is better than one long practice in a single day. Consistent daily practice creates natural fluency. I started enjoying speaking English. I was no longer afraid of mistakes or being laughed at. I understood that confidence and fluency come from small, daily efforts. By practicing every day, reviewing mistakes, and speaking without fear, I saw real progress. I could express myself, share my thoughts, and understand others better. I knew that the key to perfect English is not speed, but persistence